I call to order the regular city council meeting for this Monday, July 6th, 2026. We will start with the roll call, please.
Blessum.
Here.
Fuller.
Here.
Hayes. Janser.
Here.
Olson. Pittner. Samuelson.
Here.
All right. Pledge of Allegiance, please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will now proceed to item 3 on the agenda, which is the swearing in of newly elected officials and the signing of the oaths of office. And first up will be our newly re-elected municipal judge, Ashley Beal, and I will come down to the podium and swear her in. And then I think she's going to return the favor and swear me in. Okay, so here we go. I, Ashley Beal, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of North Dakota, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of municipal judge for the city of Minot, according to the best of my ability, so help me God, under pains and penalties of perjury. Congratulations, welcome.
All right, so we're going to trade positions for the newly re-elected Mark Janser. So I'll have you state after me while you raise your right hand. I, Mark Janser,
I, Mark Janser,
do solemnly swear
that
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of North Dakota,
and the Constitution of the State of North Dakota,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of mayor for the city of Minot,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of mayor of the city of Minot,
North Dakota, according to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Under pains and penalties of perjury.
Under pains and penalties of perjury.
Congratulations,
Thank
Mayor
you.
Janser.
Thank you.
We'll have Dr. Padragula come up. I'll try to break that into more digestible segments for you, Dr. Padragula.
There you go. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Please state after me. I, Stephen Padragula,
I, Stephen Padragula,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of North Dakota,
and the Constitution of the State of North Dakota,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of City Alderman for the city of Minot. Yep. Yeah. The duties of the office of City Alderman
the duties of the office of City Alderman
for the city of Minot, North Dakota,
for the city of Minot, North Dakota,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Under pains and penalties of perjury.
Under pains and penalties of perjury.
Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Yep. Okay, you got to sign here. For Padragula, we need your autograph. And I suppose he should take his... And you can... Thank you. Okay, Eric Locken. So, I'll have you raise your right hand for me, and I'll have you repeat after me. I, Eric Locken,
I, Eric Locken,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of North Dakota,
and the Constitution of the State,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of City Alderman
the duties of the office of City Alderman
for the City of Minot,
for the City of Minot,
North Dakota, according to,
North Dakota,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Under pains and penalties of perjury.
Under pains and penalties of perjury.
Congratulations. Eric. Okay, John McMartin. I'm getting worse, not better, so you're in danger. I'll have you raise your right hand for me. Please state after me. I, John McMartin,
I, John McMartin,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of North Dakota,
and the Constitution of the State of North Dakota,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of City Alderman for the City of Minot, of the
office of City Alderman for the City of Minot,
North Dakota,
North Dakota,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
So help me God,
So help me God,
under pains and penalties of perjury.
under pains and penalties of perjury.
Congratulations, Alderman.
Thank you.
All right, City Clerk, let's proceed with the roll call of the newly constituted council.
Blessum.
Here.
Fuller.
Here.
Janser.
Here.
Locken. McMartin.
Here.
Padragula.
Here.
Samuelson.
All right, moving on. Item number 5, election of council president.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman McMartin.
I would make a motion for Stephen Padragula to be president of the council.
Okay, there's a motion.
A second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Samuelson?
I would like to make a further nomination.
Okay,
I would like to nominate Alderman Mike Blessum.
okay,
Second.
okay, moved and seconded. So we have 2 candidates. Any other discussion? All right, so we'll, I guess, take these in order then. We will go ahead and vote on the first motion first. City Clerk, and you're calling the roll tonight, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I will.
A point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Blessum.
Thank you. To the city attorney, can you please help us understand how the ordinance reads for us in electing our president?
Well, I was going to say, if the candidates wanted to open the floor to provide a speech as to why either one of them would like to be elected in this instance, I think the chair is elected to first, but that would be my recommendation, is to first open the floor for a speech from either one of the candidates or from other officers to indicate why they would be voting for one side or the other. Once that is done, I think that you could first entertain the roll call on the first motion that's on the floor, which would be for, I believe it was for Alderman Padragula. If that should fail, then the motion could be entertained for Alderman Blessam, excuse me.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor,
so,
that is my point of order. So I'd like to understand in ordinance how this is intended to work. So is a motion the way that, I know that this is how it's generally worked, but it was not clear to me when this had occurred 2 years ago, and I'd like to understand it better today.
If I can just have a moment to consult here with the ordinance, I apologize. This is something that I was not anticipating addressing here tonight. So one moment, please. Mayor Janser, President Blessam, the finance director just indicated that he could procure ballots if that was how you would like to proceed, but I haven't had a chance to pull up the ordinance quick yet. So the finance director has procured ballots. If the body would like to proceed through that means, maybe the quickest way to do this.
Mr. Mayor, we need to understand what our ordinance says. What is the prescribed method for electing the council president? And the only reason I'm pushing this, the vote is going to go as the vote goes. I'm not worried about that. But this is the second reorganization in a row where it is not clear to the council how we nominate and whether it's a motion or there's actual nominations. And so this is different than 2 years ago because we voted on the first motion. Now we've got 2 nominations in this case. And I just want to clarify this going forward.
And so I'm not seeing it in our rules of order. So I'm consulting Robert's rules of order. So just as an update as to what I'm doing.
In the meantime, I don't have a joke, but I would interject, go USA soccer team versus Belgium tonight.
Hey,
Mr. Mayor, while the city attorney's looking into this a little bit, I can just reference the city ordinance, which states that the organization of the city council shall be held in conjunction with the first meeting in July of even-numbered years, which would be this meeting, at which meeting the members of the city council shall elect from their number a president and vice president who shall hold their respective offices until their successors are elected at the next organizational meeting. It goes on to say in the next section that a majority of the city council shall be required to elect the president and vice president of the city council, but does not prescribe a method of conducting the election from what I can see.
No, and so I'm consulting, section 46, mayor, finance director, members of the council. And so section 466 talks about nominations from the floor, which is the direction that appears to have been chosen here. There's also nominations that can be made by the chair. Under nominations from the floor, the chair calls for nominations at the time established by rule or custom, so here at this meeting here today. Unless the bylaws or a special rule calls otherwise, the chair must call for further nominations at the session at which the election is held, even if nominations were called for at a previous session. A member need not be recognized by the chair to make a nomination unless they wish to speak and debate on that. No second is required. Sometimes one or more members will second a nomination to indicate endorsement. Where more than one person is to be elected to an office, such as a board of directors, one can nominate more than one person. If an objection is made until every member wishing to nominate has had an opportunity to do so, in no event may a member nominate more persons than there are places to fill. Same person can be nominated for more than one office. There's no nominating committee. The chair calls for them by stating nominations are now open. The member voices the nomination. The chair indicates that the individual is nominated. There's provisions in here about if there's a nominating committee, but that has not been typical in elections of the city council. After when it appears no one else wishes to make a nomination, the chair will ask again if there's any further nominations. If there's no response, then he'll declare that the nominations for that office is closed without waiting for a motion to that effect. After they are closed, voting for that office takes place, or nominations for the next office are called for by the chair depending upon the procedure being followed by the particular organization. It goes on to talk about nominations by ballot. The object of a nominating ballot is to provide the members with an indication of the sentiments of the voting body. There can be nominations by mail, by petition, which isn't necessarily here. In large conventions, nominations are then accompanied by a speech advocating for the nominee's election. The nomination may then be seconded by one or more members who are also making speeches. To give a nominating or seconding speech, a member must first be recognized by the chair while the floor is open for nominations. The member may then nominate a candidate without waiting for the chair to state the nomination, speak in favor of the candidate, or he or she may speak in favor of the candidate who was nominated previously. So that's the point kind of where we are now. If any of the members would like to give a nominating or a seconding speech, that can be held at this specific point. Once that concludes, the election itself can be held. Again, it can be done by a ballot election. Or a viva voce method of election. There can also be a roll call election as well. So, I mean, I guess that's a issue before the body. There's a few different ways that the election can be completed under Robert's Rules of Order. Our ordinance does not specify which method. Traditionally, it's been by voting by the first motion that's on the floor. So if it passes or if it fails, has been how it's been conducted in the past.
Alderman Blessam.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I would move that we dispense with any nominating or candidate speeches and move to a balloted vote.
Second.
So under the ballot vote, Finance Director, can I have your ballot sheets, please? For the ballot. So is there a second?
Fuller second.
Fuller
Oh,
second.
Fuller seconded.
There's a
Okay.
second by Alderman Fuller. So then we'll move to proceed with a ballot vote.
Okay, so
We need to vote on the
yeah, let's
motion.
vote on the motion. So, I guess call the roll.
Blessam,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Locken,
Yes.
McMartin,
Yes.
Padragula.
Yes.
Samuelson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, since we didn't have pre-printed ballots approved, I would suggest that you just write the name of the candidate that you're voting for on the card, and we'll collect those.
Okay. Everybody clear?
Does everyone have a pen?
Make sure it writes.
Oh, you've already read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I just read them off then?
I guess, yeah, or you can tally them and then give a conclusion, whichever you like.
One vote for Alderman Padragula. One vote for Blessam. A second vote for Alderman Padragula. Second vote for Blessam. A third vote for Padragula. A third vote for Blessam. A fourth vote for Padragula.
All right,
It was 4-3.
all right. So, Alderman Padragula, congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you wish to make any comments at this time?
Not now, no. Thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on. Item 5, election of council vice president. And I guess, given what we've learned, hopefully everybody's agreeable to nominations being opened and voiced. And then we'll proceed, if somebody wants to make a speech, that's fine. Similarly, we'll, I guess, do a ballot on this election as well, since that's the way we have been conducting them. Alderman Padragula.
I want to nominate Alderman McMartin.
A second.
Okay, moved and seconded to nominate Alderman McMartin. Are there further nominations? Are there further nominations? Last time, further nominations. Hearing none, I'll declare nominations closed. And does anybody, John, do you want to make a speech or anything?
No.
All right, Then Alderman Potter-Gula.
I just wanted to explain why I nominated John. Normally, I think it's important to have experience on the city council, and I wouldn't nominate a first-termer person coming into the council. But I think this situation is different because John has played a very active role in our community as the executive director of the MACEDC before I'd even had that name. He's attended more city council meetings than anybody else in the audience except for Jill Schramm from the Minot Daily News. So I think John is, although he's not served on the council, is eminently qualified and is very knowledgeable about city affairs, and that's the only reason I would nominate him, even though he doesn't have any formal experience in the city council. He's also represented the council on previous occasions in numerous lobbying trips to Washington and working with our congressional delegation as being a very active part of our Task Force 21 and our economic development activities. So again, short of Jill, he's been to more meetings than anybody in this room that I can think of, and I think is very, very knowledgeable. I think that's why I'm making the exception and nominating him, although he hasn't served before.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments one way or the other? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and get ballots and vote.
Mr. Mayor, if I could,
Alderman Blessing.
we do not need a ballot. I'll make a motion for unanimous consent to elect Alderman McMartin to the vice president.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded to have unanimous consent to elect Alderman McMartin as vice president. Call the roll.
Blessam,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yeah.
Janser,
Yes.
Locken. Yes. McMartin,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Samuelson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right. Item 7 is our next item, and that is appointment of committees. Those appointments have been passed out in hard copy. You all have received a copy here on the dais. I guess, I don't know if we have a,
There doesn't need to be a motion.
okay, these are just.
But it is also included in the agenda packet if anyone,
Okay, so for the press or anybody in the public that would want to see these, they are included in the agenda. Okay, moving on, item 8. Item 8 is the mayor's report. Tonight, I have a couple of things that I've brought, that I want to bring to the council. They are, first of all, an update on the discussion regarding the Big M building. And so I'm going to turn to our city attorney for that. So, city attorney, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So just as a quick synopsis here for our new members, the city entered into a development agreement in 2024 with Big M Minot LLC. That LLC purchased the Midwest Federal Building here across the street, which at the time was blighted. They intended to develop that building into a mixed-use building that included parking, commercial, and residential spaces. The city created a TIF district, tax increment financing district, and issued bonds to reimburse that LLC for certain costs that were associated with the development of that property. As we're all aware, that project did not move forward as planned, and the city understands that the LLC has substantial debts, including unpaid taxes. Recently, the city's been engaged with discussions with council for several members of that LLC that still remain with the company and representatives of the bank that hold the mortgage on that property in an effort to find a path forward for that property, including the prospect of potentially selling that property to a third party. To date, the city has not received any firm proposals from the LLC. There's been no agreements that have been reached constructively with staff or proposed otherwise. The city remains open to considering proposals that would allow for the development of that property and recovery of the bond amounts that have been issued. But to date, there have been no agreements that have been reached as of yet.
Okay. Very good. Any questions for the city attorney or Alderman Potter-Gula?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologize for not being up on this, but when I didn't get elected last time, I kind of left the stage and deliberately left it up to the new alderman to become involved in this, so I'm sorry. I have to bring myself up to speed. Do we own the building? I guess the first question is, And second question is, did we spend money on it that somebody owes us right now? It kind of sounds like we did, but I'm not sure about that. So could you clarify those, ma'am?
Mayor Janser, Alderman Padrigula, no, we do not own the building. And yes, there's potentially sums of money under the development agreement that's been executed that the city could potentially attempt to pursue. So we have secured third-party counsel in that matter. We're continuing to negotiate through them. It's Kate Johnson, who also, you may be familiar with her. She represented us in the Cypress
Yes.
litigation as well. So same attorney that we had there previously too. And depending upon how far negotiations can get, we just haven't been able to make much progress thus far. We could potentially foresee going into an executive session too with the council to give an update or some negotiating instructions to receive those, to bring into those negotiations with us. But to my belief, I don't think we've reached a point to where we would bring that to the council yet.
How much money might we be owed?
I'd have to defer to our finance director, Alderman Padrigula, for an exact accounting on the number.
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Padrigula, I believe the original TIF amount was around $2.3 million, and that funding was used to abate the asbestos in the building. That money was to be recovered by the city through the increase in property value and taxes paid in future years. And the developers had agreed to a minimum assessment agreement of $14.7 million for the value of that property. And that would ensure that the value was sufficient, that the new taxes would cover the bond payment. However, since the project is stalled, the developers have not paid the property taxes. They made the first installment and then have not paid the property taxes. So the taxes are 2 years delinquent at this time.
But we did get something for the $2 million. We got the asbestos abatement, which either us or the county would be on the hook for eventually if the building went back for taxes, right?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Padrigula, presumably yes. If if the building would have remained in a state of disrepair and either been condemned by the county or the city or foreclosed on for taxes by the county, if the building were to be demolished, the asbestos would have had to have been abated.
Okay, if I remember correctly, the city engineer during a tour told us that before anybody could do anything with the building, before it could even be torn down, the asbestos would have to be removed and be, if the owners weren't in business anymore, be falling on our shoulders, the taxpayers' shoulders.
Yes.
But we did get something out of it. The asbestos is gone, and we paid for that.
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Padrigula, that is correct. The asbestos abatement has been completed.
Okay. So now hopefully it's a more attractive property for somebody to buy.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. That helps a lot.
Any further questions, comments? Mr. Brecky, you wish to say something?
Mr. Mayor, you know I have been visiting with you on this building for about 8-9 months. Oops, sorry. And I do have an offer on it, but I'd like to know from the city attorney, what is the timeline?
Mr. Brecky, what timeline are you talking about?
When there's free and clear title to the property.
So as
Because-
in, excuse me, Mr. Brecky, Mayor, members of the council, so one of the items that city staff has indicated that it's open to considering is that they're looking for proposals that would allow for development of the property and recovery of the bond amounts that are issued. And so when you say free and clear title, just to clarify, are you wanting the city to forego the TIF bond that has been issued and just absorb that expense?
Mr. Mayor, we've been visiting on this for several months, am I correct?
We've certainly had conversations about what's happening with the building, yes.
If it isn't going to be free and clear title by the end of July, I would no longer going to be interested. I mean, this has been going on for months.
So council, I mean, I guess that is a consideration that you can take into consideration if you want to forego potential recovery of the TIF bonds. It sounds like Mr. Brecky would like to put that offer on the table here to the council.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Blessam.
Thank you. To the city attorney, and maybe Dave, I mean, this is not as simple as, oh man, make a motion right off the funds. I mean, this is extremely complicated, and I don't know that we can just vacate the previous agreement, and I don't know which of you can address that or start to, if we're gonna entertain any direction along this lines, there's a whole lot that we've got to know before we do that. This isn't a simple motion.
Finance Director?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that is correct. There's a lot of moving pieces here. We are not the owners of the property, so whatever offers are on the table, the other party has represented that they have multiple offers on the property, but they have not shared any of the details of any of the offers with us, so we don't know exactly where they're at. The ball's in their court, so to speak, to bring those offers forward and to address the encumbrances of the building, because it's not only the TIF agreement, there's a mortgage with a local bank, there's the component of back taxes that are there. There's also a number of construction liens against the property that is completely outside of our purview to do anything with those. So there's a lot of moving pieces that have to come together. And right now we've had some discussions on possible pathways to move forward to clean some of this up. Obviously, I don't think anybody will be made whole in this instance, and that's not the expectation. But we have to look at the entire picture of this and move forward. And there's a number of interested parties. So for us to make a decision on anything at this time is probably premature, because we don't know what else is coming from the other side. And right now, in all honesty, I think the ball is in the court of the owners of the property if they want to accept an offer and move forward with some other way to resolve the other issues.
So if I can continue, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Alderman Blessam.
Thank you. So, so Dave, and you and I have had conversations about this. I've spoke with you as well, Mr. Brecky. I guess the part that does concern me about it is that, and maybe this is all completely on the owners. That absolutely could be the case. But we haven't seen any movement on this for months and months and months. And I mean, to Mr. Brecky's point, we either need to get something going or people are going to move on to other discussions here. And I don't think that's on the city to resolve. I don't even know if it's on any one party to resolve. At the very least, the owners would need to come forward with some type of proposal on where this would go. Because for me, I don't want to sit up here and guess at what it might even make a deal work, because I don't know what that even looks like. Even from the city's sliver of the project. It needs to be part of a bigger part of it. The other part of it is that I would caution my colleagues on, we have an agenda item here that's not even an agenda item. It's not an action item. This is a discussion point. So for me, any motion here I think would be out of order. We haven't even, I would want to see something telling the public what we're even considering, and that's not here. So I think for tonight, we can get some information, but to Mr. Brecky's point, that means at the very earliest, the closest we could see something is 2 weeks from today. And we're up against a deadline that you're hoping to hit. So just being honest with you, I don't think we'll see it, Dwayne.
One other question is, City Finance Director, I believe you said that they, or maybe it was whoever said that the taxes are currently 2 years delinquent. What's the timing of this property ending up going to auction or back to the county for delinquent taxes?
And Mr. Mayor, members of the committee, we are a little over a year out before the foreclosure process would happen and the tax sale would take place.
Point of information. Any, excuse me, any further questions of our staff or discussion by the council on this topic? Mr. Brecky?
Mr. Mayor, you've been a friend. I think sometimes you're too nice. I think you've got the gavel. I think you should call a meeting next Tuesday morning of all those involved in your office and get them together, send them a certified letter, because this has been going on for over a year. And if nobody takes the leadership role, you've got to get them together. 9 o'clock in the morning, certified letter, meet with them until noon, whatever. But they've got to resolve this. The attorneys are making money. And right now, there's more high-rise buildings in Minot than any other city in the area. Vacant ones. And this is a vacant building. There's opportunities to correct it. And I think you should put pressure on people. And I say this as a friend.
I appreciate that. Thank you for your appearance and for your interest in this and your comments. I appreciate that. Okay, we will move on to the next item, which is the case of Liz Larson, I think now known as Liz Myers, the former executive director of Project B, and the criminal action related to her for misappropriation of funds of Project B. There are a number of people in the community who have talked to me and been wondering about folks who were affected by her actions and whether the plea arrangement that has been put forward, that was reported in the news and widely known at this point, is fair to all parties concerned, or what people would like to see happen. And so I asked the city attorney to kind of look into what options were on this and would ask her to report on what she found out.
Thank you, Mayor Janser. So when you asked me if I could find out some more information on the progress of this case, I did so. I reached out to the Assistant United States Attorney that's prosecuting this case and asked him for an update. So the sentencing for Ms. Larson is scheduled for September 23rd at 1 p.m. I know the recommended plea recommendation has been widely publicized in the paper. And I've seen as well, like the social media indicating that there's some strong feelings on both sides of that. The United States Attorney, Assistant U.S. Attorney that I spoke with indicated that the plea recommendation is in line for the damages that they're seeking in that case, which is around $61,000, and he indicated that that's the amount that they can show that she spent on herself. And so that is the damages that are being pursued in that particular matter. That's where that number came from. I asked about their status of, or their position on victim impact statements, and he indicated that anybody that would like to be heard on that case, if it's members of the nonprofit community, if it's elected officials, other members that were interested in that case in the community, they're all welcome to draft written statements. I have the contact information for their victim witness coordinator that can accept them, and so if they reach out to our office, I'd be happy to provide that contact information, and anyone that's interested can provide those statements directly to that coordinator. And I also would be willing to assist in any other way that anybody wants to work in providing statements in that case.
Okay, thank you, City Attorney. And I guess I would put it to the council, the actions of Ms. Larson Myers certainly had a direct impact on the city in terms of our needing to take, I think it was $1.6 million out of reserves and make sure that project got finished. Not to mention we had a search for a new subrecipient agreement to operate it, and there was a substantial amount of staff time and effort following and participating in the case that was eventually built against Larson Myers. And so I guess, you know, I had thought to perhaps collaborate with the city attorney and write a letter that would come from the city of Minot as an entity that, although she didn't directly steal money from us, she certainly caused both financial and effort issues. And so I'm wondering if it would be amenable or the will of the council for us to bring back something that might be submitted to the judge on this matter. Any comments or thoughts? Alderman Padregula.
A question and then probably a motion. I want to be clear about this. So the United States government, a person of the Assistant U.S. Attorney, is saying they think they can prove, and that's their burden ethically, I think, that they can get a conviction that this woman stole $67,000. But we gave the organization that she headed at the time $1.6 million. What about the other $1,500,000? What happened to that? And
Mayor Janser, Alderman Padregula, so it is a complex case and it is a criminal case. So the burden of proof is on the government in this case to prove those damages beyond a reasonable doubt. And without getting it muddying into the waters or anything like that, beyond a reasonable doubt, it's a higher burden than what you would see in a civil case if we were to pursue something along those lines. There's also a difference between, so the money that we had came from HUD, the federal
Right.
government. So we were a pass-through organization. So what they're recovering in this case is money that will go back to HUD eventually.
it's federal money.
because
It's not money from the taxpayers of Minot directly, at
It's
least.
federal money in this instance that they're pursuing. So that recovered money will be going back to HUD to use for their purposes. There's also a difference in some of these cases that you have to look between what is money that she's spending on herself that you can prove, which is something you'd see, personal expenses that everybody has, and what are expenses that were spent that were just not probably the most frugal business decision that could be made in those cases too. And so some of that does come into play in criminal cases. There's theft, where you're directly taking money and you're using it for something you're not authorized to do. And then there's what is simply spending more than what you should on a good or a service or something to that end. That's not necessarily illegal, but probably is just not the most prudent business sense. And that's not necessarily something that you can pursue a criminal charge over.
But what happened to the $1.5 million? I guess is what I'm asking too.
So, when I can.
So Alderman Padregula, so the circumstance was that the project was under construction and the contractor had not been paid up to date,
I remember that.
nor were there sufficient funds in Project B to finish the project. And so that's where the 1.6 million went, was to bring the contractor up to date, keep him on the job, and finish the project so that the family shelter and the other associated buildings down there could be put into operation to fund the family shelter and provide the apartments that were in part of the design.
Thank you for refreshing my memory very nicely. I guess I'm still not clear whose pocket the 1.5 million came from.
I think that money came from general fund reserves, if I'm not mistaken.
So it was from the taxpayers of the city of Minot.
That City Finance Director, can you confirm that?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I can probably add a little bit of clarity. What was going on is Project B was supposed to bring the remaining funds to complete this project. They were supposed to fundraise and have that money available. When this incident happened and this was brought to light, well, then Project B didn't have the money to complete the project on their end. So the city of Minot would have either had to have stalled the project and waited for somebody else to raise the money to do that. And in the meantime, we had a contractor that was waiting to complete the project that was under contract. So the city stepped in to fulfill that contract to get the construction completed so that the shelter and the LMI housing could move on and be used.
But was the money our money, or was it the federal government's money that we advanced them?
So, Mr. Mayor, Alderman Padragula, we did not advance them any money. So the money that ultimately came up short, I would say, was on the Project B side of the equation.
But you said we had to take money out of our reserves.
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Padragula, that was because Project B did not have the funding then to complete the project. So we had to step in and fulfill the role or the burden of Project B to get the project completed.
But it was taxpayer money.
That is correct.
So, again, I don't want to defame this person, but it sounds like she and or perhaps Confederates or members of the board of the organization that didn't show proper stewardship did things that cost the taxpayers $1.5 million. Am I correct in that?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Padragula, I think that is our assertion that there was nefarious activity that took place here and that was unlawful. And that's why we went through our investigation and turned it over to the authorities for criminal prosecution.
And they think they can only get back $67,000. But again, their burden of proof is very high.
Their burden of proof is high, and so I believe the charge as well is theft of program income, which specifically relates to the HUD dollars that were received by the city and then funneled into that organization to help support this specific project. So it's complex.
I
Like
know,
there's several
obviously.
funding sources from several different entities, the federal government, the city, that's all. But this specific charge that's being pursued in this matter relates to the money that was received from the federal government, not the money that was related to the city.
I was going to make a motion, but I'd like to hear from Alderman Blessum because he's kind of the money guy here, as far as I can tell.
Alderman Blessing.
Sure. All that I was going to clarify was just what's already been clarified, Steve. So, and again, this was right as you were finishing up your term, and that was being finished up. It's not a good situation,
Right.
without question. And the taxpayers are directly out the money, but at the end of the day, the contractors need to be paid. They had performed work.
Right, I understand. I
And
agree.
we can't put our entitlement status at risk with the federal government over these types of issues. And so, while I didn't like the decision that you all had to make on the council, it was the right one.
I agree.
Because you can't stiff contractors. That's not how this works.
Alderman Padragula.
In that case, I'd like to go ahead with my motion. I'd like to move that we ask the mayor to write a strong letter to the court asking for a more severe sentence, given the amount of money that was taken, given the loss of time and money for city staff to deal with this, and given the loss of money from the taxpayers of Minot, amount not particularly clear at this moment. I don't mean to be old-fashioned about this, but I don't think you should steal. And I think if you steal money from a vulnerable population, I think that makes it especially problematic. And I think the city should go on record asking for more severe consequences. I don't want this woman's life ruined, but she certainly made a lot of people's lives very difficult. And I don't think we should just stand idly by and go for a reimbursement, a very partial reimbursement.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to get a letter put together. City Attorney?
And Mayor Janser, if we draft such a letter, my assumption is we would bring it back to the council to kind of review and have a final approval before we send that out.
Yeah, I would think so too. Alderman McMartin?
That is something I followed from a distance, and somehow in all of this, I remember there was also a need, or there was a possibility if the project wasn't completed, excuse me, that it would have cost the city more money than the 1.5 plus penalties from HUD. And that's just what I tend to recall. I'm looking for some clarification.
Yeah, I think you're correct. If we left the project unfinished, I mean, it's kind of back to what Alderman Blessam just outlined. If we stopped the project and didn't complete it, then we haven't done what we agreed to do with the government, and so, then they're saying, well, okay, you got to give us our money back. So that was the two rocks we were between, essentially. So yeah. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll, City Clerk, please.
Padragula?
Yes.
Samuelson?
Yes.
Blessam?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes.
Janser?
Yes.
Locken?
Yes.
McMartin?
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, that completes my mayor's report. We'll move on to the city manager's report. City manager.
First and foremost, congratulations to the new council as seated. And I want to personally thank each and every one of you for your active participation and discussion with city staff 2 weeks ago when we had department head budget presentations. Very good dialogue, very good discussion. We learned a lot from that discussion. And again, I'll be taking that and moving forward and presenting my proposed city manager's budget on the 16th of July. So that'll be forthcoming. Other than that, the city manager's report it was in your agenda packet, and I stand by for any questions that anyone may have.
Questions for the city manager?
Okay, if there's no questions, I'd like to go ahead and cede part of my time to Executive Director John Van Dyke of the Central Dakota Metropolitan Planning Organization to give an update on the transit development plan. John?
Thank you, Mayor Janser, and members of City Council, and City Manager Joyce. So I'm Executive Director John Van Dyke. I've met most of you, I think, maybe possibly other than Alderman Locken. So as a new policy board member, potentially, along with Fuller, I'll be seeing you guys quite a bit more soon. We've been working on this transit development plan since fall of 2025. This is probably all foreign language to a few of you. So
We can't hear you. Step back. What, ma'am?
am I? Okay. I apologize. Yeah, I'll speak up. That's totally fine. So if you recall, we adopted a Metropolitan Transportation Plan in December of 2025. That's an overarching transportation plan. This transit development plan is really focused on transit as a mode of transportation, and so really it just does a deep dive into everything transit. Bill Tro from SRF Consulting Group, who's the consultant on the project, is online and prepared to give a brief, keep it to 10 minutes, Bill, presentation. And then afterward, what we're seeking here is adoption of the transit development plan. The city of Minot is the direct recipient of the funding that flows through to Minot City Transit, is the one that is responsible for implementing plans. Keep in mind, there's no fiscal requirement or tied to this plan. This is just information and guidance. And so adoption of the plan doesn't have a fiscal impact. There is a second component that I did want to bring up before handing off to Bill Tro. And after discussion with Brian Harinka, who is the transit superintendent, Chapter 10, which is called the Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan. It's a component of the overarching transit development plan.
Sounds like you're preparing to hand over the floor to Bill Tro after speaking.
Astute, that is correct. But first, I want to point out that, yes, I'm seeking the resolution of adoption, just so the plan is adopted, and this is the overall guiding document. Brian Harinka may or may not be here for a certain amount of time, but when there's somebody else that takes over, they need to have a guiding document to pick up where that individual left off, and that's what this document does. But the Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan is effectively a separate element, and after talking to our state and federal partners, let's call it a bureaucratic clarification, we would like that separately adopted, even though it is rolled into the overarching plan. Ideally, we would just adopt that separately. What that does is it does open up 5310 funding, which was there to can be applied for at the federal level There's no requirement to apply for it, but if you do not have an adopted coordinated plan, then you're ineligible to apply for it. So nothing requires you to apply for additional funding, but options are nice. And so adopting this separately, we just want to make sure that our state and federal partners are happy. So ideally, any motion to approve would be to approve the transit development plan, and then separately, the coordinated public transit human services transportation plan, which is chapter 10 of the transit development plan, would be adopted separately. I can come back and clarify everything I just said. If you need a little bit of guidance, I did not provide a written recommended motion, so I'm happy to do so. But with that, I'm going to hand it over to Bill Tro.
Okay, good evening. My name is Bill Tro, and I have some slides to share that I can also touch a little bit on the coordinated plan, give you a little bit more background on that particular plan. But what I want to do is just give you an overview of the process that we followed to develop the coordinated plan and the transit development plan, and some of the key recommendations that came out of our planning process. That one of the things that I want to make sure that I point out here at the beginning is that the transit development plan, or we'll just call it the transit plan, covers both the fixed route service that we provide within Minot and the paratransit service, which is defined as in using the word complementary service to the fixed route service. And complementary in this case really means it's a service that's provided to those folks in town that cannot use the fixed route service. That I'm a person that can't walk far enough to get to a transit stop or from a transit stop. I don't have the cognitive capabilities of understanding how to use transit service within the region. Those are kind of the two primary groups that have have access to paratransit service that they need to be able to be certified to use that particular service. So our planning effort here covers both services. Now, there's not a whole lot in here on paratransit service because it essentially goes everywhere within the city of Minot. So that even if we were to change routes some, and there are some suggested modifications to routes, paratransit isn't impacted at all within the community. What I want to do is just, there are essentially 5 steps that we have followed in developing the transit plan, starting with essentially developing a vision. What do we want transit to provide for us within the community? And then we went through a process of looking at existing conditions, but then also understand what people within the community desire to where they desire to travel on transit within the community, and does their desire match up well with actually where we are providing service, and the differences there, are the gaps. And then the idea is looking at what are our alternatives and ideas within the community to address those gaps. And we evaluated a number of those opportunities using a consistent set of evaluation criteria. And then we developed a short and long, medium and long range action plan for service within the region. But okay, that's kind of the steps that we followed, but what really does the transit plan entail? I've already said that we focused on the fixed route service and some adjustments. Are there adjustments needed in the service? Are there adjustments in the hours of service and the frequency of service? We looked at the costs associated with those, because if we extend hours, if we add more frequency, like right now that routes run on every hour, that if we add half-hour routes, that essentially doubling up on some, well, those are going to cost more money. So then we did develop some cost estimates for those, also did some very rough estimates of what the potential ridership increase would be if we added hours, if we added frequency to the service, so that we would understand, well, what are we getting in return for the dollars that are invested? That right now, Minot operates a flag stop system, which essentially means that I could walk along a particular route and in a location that is deemed as safe, which has a little bit of nebulous understanding of what safe is, that I can essentially raise my hand as a bus is coming by and the bus will stop there. And we also looked at what are the implications and impacts of going to a designated stop system, which if you've gone to Fargo has a designated stop system. So the bus is only going to pick people up where there's a bus stop sign or where there is a transit center. We looked at what are the implications of going to a concept like that. We also looked at a range of funding sources, understanding that if we want to do more to provide transit within the region, well, we're going to have to find more money. And I think we all understand that well, right now, local dollars come from property tax, and we all understand that increasing property tax at this point in time is really not all that pleasant of a conversation to have. But are there other methods that we can use to generate more resources that could be used for transit to kind of spread that cost burden around a little bit? We also looked at the what we call is the governance structure. Right now, that transit service falls under Public Works, but are there other ways and other means of structuring where or how we go about managing and governing transit service within the region? Would we be better off creating another department that would be transit? Would we be better off creating another political subdivision or an authority that would be responsible for operating transit? We looked at the pros and cons of a number of different concepts there. And then we also incorporated into this the whole idea of paratransit service within the region, because one of the things that has changed quite significantly since the last census and the idea of Minot becoming a metropolitan area is the program, the federal program that service is funded under within the urbanized area of the region has changed, and that's changed a little bit some of those rules that has traditionally been used to provide that door-to-door paratransit service, plus what is also referred to as demand response service that over the last, I guess, understandable time has been provided or contracted through Source Basin Transportation, that how all of the range of services that they provide, how they access federal funding within the city of Minot and some other urbanized areas have changed. So we also addressed some of those elements. These are kind of the range of things that we covered within the transit plan. We also had outreach and public engagement opportunities, that we had a steering committee that was made up of representatives from the different departments of the city, some of the human services agencies and transportation providers within the city. That group met 5 times and was essentially our steering group that provided input, provided feedback on the ideas that we had come up with. We also held 2 public meetings over the course of the work that we've been doing, and we've been providing information on the website and through this QR code that you can access the various public outreach elements that we had provided. Just getting quick to the recommendations, that each of the areas along the top here with fixed route service, the fleet, that one of the things I think I want to point out is that the fleet in Minot, it's very old. That the fleet today is at about 14 years of age, and each of those buses that are being used have a lifespan of somewhere between 10 and 12 years, so that we're well beyond on average what we would typically put as the lifespan of a fixed route bus that Minot City Transit is going through currently and replacing a couple of those buses, and that'll bring that fleet age down. But generally, as we work with transit agencies, we like to see the average age of their transit fleet being about half the useful life of a bus. So at that 6, 7 years is what we would like to generally see, and we're well beyond that. So some of our recommendations are also to continue to renew the fleet. We have identified some technology enhancements, primarily focused on making it more convenient to pay the fare to use transit. And we've also identified some management kinds of modifications and recommendations to improve some of improve the service that's provided. We've divided the recommendations into short term, which is over the next year or so, the medium term, which is those up to about 5 years or 5 years into the future, and long-term improvements, which are more than 10 years down the road. For the most part, that you can see that in the 5-year term, we are suggesting adding Saturday service and assessing the use of what we call as microtransit, which is essentially a more on-demand type service. That it's a application-based service that it's kind of like an Uber and Lyft, but it's more of a shared ride. It's not that you're the only person or the only group in your that would be on a vehicle at that time. There would be other groups that would have travel in a similar period of time and from a similar origin to a similar destination that would also try to be grouped. So it's kind of like a modification of an Uber and a Lyft, but these medium and long-term ideas are going to take additional resources. So that again is also a reason why we have extended the time of trying to implement those, so that there's an opportunity to have more conversation about, well, where could we find more resource and use and adding more resource to the service, is that worthwhile to the region? And that I just want to touch a little bit on the service recommendations for fixed route. We essentially base these on themes that I've had a lot more success in being able to explain why we're doing these things, that if we connect them to themes that come back to some goals of the service. And the goals that we are proposing or promoting are, we would like to see 30-minute service to a combination of the mall and to Walmart. Those are the two most active retail areas within the community. And presently they have hour service between downtown and each of those. We would like to see that enhanced, because those could generate more utility in getting more service to them. We also are focusing our effort on keeping buses on time more, because one of the reasons is that all of the vehicles or all the buses pulse out of the downtown transit center. If we can't keep them on time, then if we can't keep one bus on time, that there is the potential for all of the buses in the system on that next run to be starting out behind time, as we're looking at trying to make transfers. And we want to also look at a third theme of improving the effectiveness, which is essentially trying to provide more opportunity to enhance ridership on the service, provide more access to those higher density locations in town. But we also are looking at, in each of these alternatives, in at least the short term, we're only looking at our current level of revenue hours, which is a measure of how much service we provide on the street, which is a function of how much the service ultimately costs to provide over the course of a year. So that, and we look at it as, we define it here as level of service, because I think we can all understand that each year that we have some cost of living, some inflationary issues associated with everything, So rather than saying, well, we want to keep the same budget, we want to maintain the same level of service, that is going to have to take into account some inflationary costs each year. So that we have essentially developed 3 packages that are that we recommend for implementation in the short term. The first package focuses on that first idea of providing more 30-minute service to the mall and to to Walmart. And what we're showing here in these yellow are in the yellow lines are what we would propose as new routes or a new streets that those routes would operate on, and it would impact a combination of the north central, and the west routes in this alternative. And the dashed lines are locations where with this particular concept that we would remove service. You can see that along the corridor here that we would be removing service, but at the same time, as we look at other enhancements over on what we're calling is package 3, we would replace the service on that particular street. And because we can make it work more efficiently with that particular package. The package 2 that we are looking at moves around some of the service on the South 1 and South 2 routes to help support that ability to keep routes on time, to provide that 30-minute service to the mall. And similarly, that package 3 again works towards those 3 themes that we had identified. And each of the concepts that we are showing here can be done with the same level of resource, the same level of revenue hours of service that we are providing today. But what we are anticipating that it will provide a more efficient service, it will provide that 30-minute service to the mall, and it will also help keep routes on time better than we are today. And what the purpose of showing you this chart is that the map here on the left shows the existing routes. The map on the right shows the proposed route changes. And I just wanted to take a second to explain the dashed lines, that yes, we are suggesting removing service from some areas of town, but these routes that we are suggesting the removal of are routes that, or segments of routes that have very little activity along them today. There are not a whole lot of people getting on, getting off in these areas today, that historically, some of these segments have been provided to essentially provide a pathway to other areas that may be a little bit further out that are generating ridership. So we are making some suggestions of still getting to those further out areas that are providing ridership, but can we try in a little bit different manner that we believe is going to generate more ridership? Okay. John had talked about the coordinated human services public transportation plan. Okay, there's a whole lot of stuff on the list here, but these are and that this plan is focused on unique or vulnerable populations within the area, so that the recommendations in this plan are focused on service that's provided to seniors, services that are focused on low-income individuals, and service elements that are focused on persons with disabilities. So a lot of these may be services that, or service that's provided through paratransit. It could be service that's provided through fixed route service, but it could also be service that is provided by senior centers or assisted living facilities. The idea is that let's look at all of the various providers of service and those organizations that support the needs of seniors, low-income individuals, and persons with disabilities, and make sure we're all on the same page as to what's needed and how might those services be provided. The recommendations that we are looking at for the very short term are providing and developing a regional mobility working group. Is that right now, most of the agencies that are providing service kind of operate in their own silos. Yep, they may be purchasing tickets and such from Minot City Transit. They may be purchasing tickets from Source Basin Transportation, but there isn't really an overall ongoing group that addresses the particularly unique needs of these three groups. We also are recommending that we expand the service that the mobility manager at Nicole Robinson at Minot City Transit, so that the services that she provides, which include helping people with trip planning, helping people with understanding how to use transit service within the area, that we try to expand that service to be more regional, as there are also folks that are outside of Minot that could benefit from those particular services. But is there the opportunity to have her in her position help more with that, where some of the other recommendations here could be or should be more long-term? Okay. And so this is the plan where John, the element of the plan that John was talking about, the added idea of additional acceptance and adoption by the council. So with that, I'm ready for any questions that you may have.
Okay, council members, any questions for speaker? Alderman Potter-Gula.
Just a comment to the consultant. This is one of the more descriptive and detailed and I think helpful plans that I've seen submitted by a consultant to the council in many years. It sketched out the alternatives. It gave a good sense of what the parameters are in terms of what we can do and what some of the financial limitations we have are. I think it reflected a good process of reaching out to the community and interested parties and getting their input. So I'm really impressed with this. Again, the implementation will become an issue of what we can afford, as it always is. But I think this is a very good foundation, gives us a sense of what the context is, what other communities are doing, what we could do here with various choices. So I appreciate all the effort that was put into this.
Any other comments by council members? Okay, so Mr. Van Dyke, we would be looking for then a motion to accept this transit plan recommendation, first of all, is that correct?
Mayor Janser, members of the city council, ideally it would be a motion to adopt
Okay,
the resolution.
okay. Is there such a
as
go ahead.
part one, and then part two would be a motion to adopt chapter 10 of the transit development plan as a separate document.
Okay,
That's
well, we'll
kinda-
start with the first one then. So is there such a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to adopt the transit plan. Any discussion? Alderman Blessam.
Thank you. So I served on the steering committee, and I'll echo Alderman Potter-Gula's remarks that, Bill, I appreciate it. I think it was a good process. John, thank you. Brian, thank you. Good work. Those that were on there and know me around the city, these things are very frustrating for me, because I want to see step change come. I want to see us have an effective program that is very cost effective. And I think right now we've got a pretty effective program that we're making better with this plan. I think we've got a couple of things there that are going to make it better, but I think it's far from cost effective. And that's a problem nationwide. That's not unique to Minot. The issue that we've got in Minot is that we've got immense pressures from other things that other cities do not have. Other cities do not have $1.5 billion flood control projects going on. They don't have tens of millions of dollars of NAS projects still finishing up. They don't have, lead service lines in the ground. They don't have 3rd Street Bridge that's going to need to be replaced. And so these are the challenges that we have that are unique to Minot. And there are other communities with challenges, don't get me wrong. Part of the things you don't see, and Bill hit on them a little bit, there was discussion about whether an authority would be a better way to go about governance. I'm actually a fan of that. Unfortunately, under North Dakota state law, we can't do it right now. So there's some steps that we can take that working with, with the legislature on whether we could put that in place. One of the reasons that I'm a proponent of that is that, and it applies to other things that are under the city's purview today, I really like the idea of this council deciding what its priorities are and setting a dollar amount, and then asking the different authorities or different boards to go work with what they've got, which is exactly what we get to do every single year as we work through this. So rather than setting a budget and then asking for the funds to cover that, they would be responsible for working out how that works. And I think that there are possibilities in the future, and this lays the groundwork for some of that. So while I didn't see the big step changes I was hoping for, I think the plan was well done and the process worked. And I appreciate that from you guys. So, I would urge my colleagues to pass this.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, seeing none, let's have the clerk call the roll.
Blessum,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Locken,
Yes.
McMartin,
Yes.
Padrigula,
Yes.
Samuelson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, and then now we want to adopt section 10, was it?
That's correct.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt section 10 of the transportation plan. Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Blessum,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Locken. Yes. McMartin,
Yes.
Padrigula,
Yes.
Samuelson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
So,
All right,
Thank you.
that, appreciate that, Mr. Van Dyke, and Alderman Blessum, appreciate you serving on that selection, on that committee. All right, moving on, 9.2, City Attorney's Report. City Attorney.
Mayor, members of council, I submitted a written report. One minor amendment, item 1B for Becker versus City of Minot indicates that a complaint was filed in federal court on June 12th. We were served that prior to this meeting today. So that's one update to report, and I can stand for any questions at this time.
Any questions for the city attorney? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Item 10 is consider the report of the Magic Fund Screening Committee. Item 10.1 is a recommendation of a Magic Fund bucket transfer from primary sector to the state program matching funds bucket. What are your wishes?
I'll move that item.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Blessum.
Thank you. I'm not sure where I'll end up directing this, whether it's to representatives from Minot State or the finance director or the city attorney. This is the second time in the last couple months that we've been asked to provide public funds to another public entity, economic development funds, and that it gets a little strange when we head down this path. And from what I can tell, number one, I can't find any precedent whatsoever that shows that this is a viable path. In fact, everything that North Dakota University system puts out on this talks about private donors and urging, philanthropy and getting the private community moving. Very much the same as the facade program and the same discussions that we had around that a few weeks ago. And so I guess to start things off, I'd like to understand a little bit how we actually think this fits under state law. These are funds that are appropriated by the legislature to move philanthropy and to move private donors to give to the institutions. And what this is contemplating is that the residents of Minot, along with visitors, foot the bill for the first $500,000 to get another $250,000 match. So I guess whoever can speak to that, I'd like to hear it.
City
Mr.
Finance
Mayor,
Director.
members of the council, the first item is just the transfer of funds from the primary sector bucket to the state matching funds program bucket within the Magic Fund. And then the two subsequent items are the actual requests for the organizations for the funding from the Magic Fund. The reason we have them in as separate items is, first of all, if the transfer is not approved, then the second item, which is the request from Service Based and Planning Council, has a restriction on how much of the available funding in that bucket can be allocated, so it'll impact that potential request, and then there wouldn't be enough funding left for the subsequent request. So they all are related. However, the first item is just the transfer from the primary sector bucket to the state matching fund programs, and then we'll have to act on the other two items.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
So if I can continue, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Alderman Blessing.
Thank you. So Dave, with that in mind, my understanding is that there's a provision in the Magic Fund guidelines today that essentially allows us to move money to this state matching programs really for whatever we like. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It doesn't have to be primary sector. They don't need a certification with the state. It can be whatever we like as long as it's going to a matching funds program.
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessing, that's correct. When the guidelines were revised here a number of years ago, the anticipation was that the state programs, in particular the PACE and FlexPACE programs, were going to be the primary vehicles that folks would come to the Magic Fund and request funding from them. So we wanted to have the flexibility built in to be able to accommodate those requests without earmarking all of the funds to go to that bucket. So that was the one mechanism that was built into the guidelines to provide for transfers. We wanted to be a little restrictive on how we could move that money into which programs.
Okay, and so if I can continue, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
So Dave, and again, we can get to the next part of the discussion when we talk about the Minot State. One of the questions that I raised already, it was important for me to have it up front because part of the reason we're transferring the funds is for this reason. So I think it's important that we all have the entire picture in mind as we go forward here. Now, with that in mind, though, to your point, this item itself, if we feel strongly about funding Service Basin, we need to do this because we can't meet their funding request with the dollars that are already in that bucket. And in fact, I think that's why that's the next one, because order of operations, we have to do that one first while there's still $1 million there. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessing, I believe that's accurate. Until the money's drawn, I think you could argue that the money is still in the fund, but that is exactly what we're thinking of is just like you stated, if you transfer the money to bring it up to $1 million, the maximum they can request is 25% of the balance in that bucket. So that would put it at the $1 million and it would be able to accommodate their $250,000 request.
Okay. So if I can continue, so part of the hard part I had in even preparing for this item was kind of trying to work my way through all the different scenarios of the three different moving parts at once. So Dave, can you tell us today when we got through and finished up last fall, and we laid out how the roughly $2.3 million for the 2026 economic development sales tax, where that was all going to end up, what was allocated in the budget itself for these programs? So as those dollars came in, we left an allocation. That's where we got into the question of the $1 million that sort of got left behind. What was allocated to Service Basin at that point, and what did we contemplate putting $1 million into this bucket?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessing, I can
Or
look
filling
up-
it to $1 million, I should say. Yeah.
I think it's a couple of different things. If my memory serves me correctly, we didn't fill all of these buckets at budget time last year. We had discussed transferring some of the funding from the economic development to the general fund, and that ordinance then failed on second reading. So that funding was essentially in limbo. It wasn't allocated to any of the buckets in the 26. So that's part of the reason why we have to do this transfer is those buckets were not filled to the maximum amount in the 26 budget.
And so just to be clear, if there had been money allocated, would you have already done it within your team to make sure that it was available for these funds? What I'm worried about is just a timing issue, that we had already allocated some to this bucket and it's still coming, but did we have nothing going to it, or has it already been allocated and that's the money that's there?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessum, because we didn't earmark or allocate the funding coming in from the sales tax specifically to those buckets, that necessitates the need for this transfer today. If in the 26 budget, we would have filled that to the maximum amount, I don't think we've acted on anything yet this year that would have drawn that down at all. So there would have been presumably $1 million available, and we wouldn't have to do this transfer now.
Does that mean that that million actually went to the primary sector bucket? Is that effectively where it ends up if it doesn't go anywhere else?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessum, that's correct. It's not allocated to any of the other buckets. However, we do segregate the funding that is coming from sales tax since the sales tax ordinance change. So we have the legacy primary sector bucket before the ordinance change, and we also have segregated the funding that is primary sector after the ordinance change. So that is where this money resides today.
So if I can continue, so are you saying that we're taking it from the sort of newer money?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessum, that's correct.
And your contention is that I think has always been, we can't touch the sort of legacy funds even with this type of transfer. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessum, that's correct.
Okay. All right. So I guess I'm fine with Dave if there's others, but I guess just my take on this right now, we got a lot of discussion across all three of these items, and this decision, it's very hard to make this decision without the outcomes of the others. And I'm not exactly sure how we go about that. And I've been trying to formulate an amendment all day to try to figure out what we do if those were to fail. I guess I haven't gotten there yet, so we'll see where it goes.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Fuller.
Thank you. Dave, help me understand the state matching funds bucket, because in my understanding and reading the guidelines and everything, it's mainly for the flex pace and the pace system. The state will give a interest rate buy down, and then we give our portion to match. Have we ever in the past given funds up front for the state to match for anything?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Fuller, just from my recollection, I don't recall anything. The guidelines use pace and flex pace specifically as examples.
Right.
However, the language allows for any state matching.
Well, and I understand that, but we aren't matching anything, are we? We're giving the money up front, and then the state is going to give them another $250,000. So they're essentially matching a portion of what we're giving as I guess, an investment. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Fuller, I believe that the challenge grant requires some local match to it, and that's where the request for the Magic Fund comes in.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Alderman Blessing.
To be clear on that, the challenge funds do not require local match. They require donors. And in fact, it talks a lot about donors. This is meant to be private philanthropy. It's not meant to be local subdivisions giving money that will be matched by the state. That wasn't even contemplated in the law. I think it's gray enough that maybe it's legal. I don't know how we'd resolve that exactly, but to me, this was not why this was contemplated.
Mr. Mayor, if I can elaborate a little more, when this request came forward, we had some discussion on whether or not it should be in the state matching funds bucket, because I think you can make the argument that it would fit within the primary sector bucket as well. However, because the state dollars were coming in, we thought that that was probably the best fit for this.
Further discussion.
So I will say one other thing, Mr. Mayor. The flip side of this entire thing, I'm a little bit skeptical. Even right this second, I don't know exactly where I'm going to end up here yet. But the other thing I want to point out is that we do hear from a lot of people around town that they'd really like to see the Magic Fund money going towards something and moving something along. And while, I may look at it different, I may look at the decisions the state makes different, I may look at it and say, why in the world do we build 4 engineering schools in the state? I don't know what the right answer is to all that, but that's well above my pay grade, and the legislature gets to figure that out. I think we do have to determine, I think in the end, we have to determine whether putting these funds to use for the people is going to serve a purpose that they would be glad about. And that's really where my mind gets to. So you know me, I'll always ask the questions. I always want to get to the bottom of it for my own way of looking at things. At the end of the day, I'm going to vote yes, because I have legal questions here, but at the same time, I think the people want their money put to work for them. And I think if we can get some workforce solutions moving and help some, help some young students, and hopefully, I have an engineering degree. I'd love to see more engineers in the world, because I think we've got really good work for them to do in our country. I'm going to vote yes on it, and I'll have some questions in a bit about Minot State and exactly how this is all going to work out. But at the end of the day, I think the people want their money moving for them.
Further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation. City Clerk, please call the roll.
McBarton,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Samuelson,
No.
Blessam,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
Dancer,
Yes.
Walken.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. All right, that moves us to item 10.2, which is to approve the Magic Fund request from Service Basin Planning Council. What are your wishes?
I'll move the item.
I'll second.
All right, moved and seconded to approve the recommendation for the $250,000 to Service Basin Planning Council. Discussion. Alderman Blessam.
Thank you. Griselda or whoever can answer the question, I want to get at the revolving schedule again and make sure that I'm understanding it, because each 6 months that goes by, we get a new set that are coming through, and I just want to understand where we're at. So looking at the table in the packet, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Is this telling us that in years so for program years 24 and 25, every dollar that we expected to come back came back?
Mayor Janser, Alderman Blessam, yes. So in the packet, you'll see the BAF revolving schedule for 2024, 2025. The full amounts did get paid back. And for 2026, so far, we have received about 79,000 of the projected 415,366. Actually, we just received 2 payoffs as of this morning, correct? Yes. So everything is on schedule currently.
Okay, so if I can continue, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
So for 26, you're feeling good that we're going to get the remainder of those funds in?
Mayor Janser, Alderman Blessam, yes.
Okay, so then the next question then on how all of this revolving works. The hope would be that it revolves perfectly, right? We don't ever have any losses. We're able to keep that money moving. And the requests that we have long-term only grow because we want to provide more, not because we're replenishing. And so far, is it safe to say that at least on the schedule you're showing us, we are fully replenishing everything that's coming?
Mayor Janser, Alderman Blessam, yes. There's a lot that we've learned since the start of this program. We have shortened the interest buy-down period to 3 years to essentially recover the principal payments sooner. So that way we're not continuously coming here in front of you to request more funding because we cannot receive principal and interest payments during the buy-down period. Also, we have worked really closely with the business and the lead lender to set up, a lot of the times it's very common to set a separate pull aside where they're making monthly, quarterly installments in preparation for their payment. Oftentimes, the loans are structured as a balloon payment, so we receive the full amount. So there are a couple of steps that we've implemented since the launch of the program to help us recover as much as possible. Of course, nothing is 100% risk-free. We understand that there's a possibility that we will not receive the funds, but we do have flexibility in terms of how we will try to recover those funds in the event that they can't make a balloon payment, whether it's restructuring the loan in a way that it makes it suitable. And of course, the last resort is default and writing it off. But that's something we try to avoid as much as possible. Traditionally, we've been doing this for over 30 years. Our rate has been historically under 5%. And so just considering the shorter the shorter interest buy-down period and kind of the several steps that we've implemented since 2019, we feel a lot more confident that we will recover majority of these funds.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Surface Basin Planning Council? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Further discussion by the council? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Let's vote.
McMartin,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Samuelson,
Yes.
Blessam,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Locken.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. That brings us to item 10.3. This is a recommendation from the Magic Fund Screening Committee for an approval of $500,000 for Minot State University to negotiate a developers agreement related to their programming. What are your wishes?
Move.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Blessam.
Thank you. So I'm just going to raise my questions again. I don't think that this is what was envisioned at the legislature, and I'm going to follow up on that and hopefully clarify going forward, because I don't know that we just need to create more and more intricate ways of moving the same taxpayer money into different buckets. If the university system needs money, then they need to ask the legislature for it rather than the locals. Beyond that, again, I think that there's some questions around the wisdom overall of where the university system is heading, not just with this, but also just overall. At the same time, it doesn't fix the workforce burden that we've got. And we've got a lot that needs to happen in the Minot area over the next, 5, 8, 10, 12 years alone, not to mention the long-term future, where some of these investments may be what the people are looking for out of their Magic Fund dollars. And so rather than taking a chance on the next business that comes through, this may be the investment that the people are looking for to get that money moving. And so I think in the end I'll vote yes. It's I've got big questions on whether it should be going this way, but at the same time, given this versus leaving the money sit in a great big pile over in the corner forever, I don't know that that's a better solution either.
Further discussion. Alderman McMartin.
Trying to get the thoughts to come and make sure my voice responds.
Okay.
I think I want to support this item, and I believe that it's important that we do support our local university. I've been around, as I've said before, for any number of years, and I've watched the State Board of Higher Education change things as they relate to university functions, community college functions, and the one school, the one university that has never totally benefited from that has been Minot State. Other institutions in the state have benefited, and I think it has a lot to do with the old Minot Mafia at the legislature and a feeling that the Christmas tree that the Minot Mafia supposedly created gave Minot advantages. And if we can do something to help the university expand a program that's important in our region, we're doing things with energy. Energy requires engineers, and although this isn't a complete engineering degree, I think it's a step that we can take and get our foot in the water.
Further discussion. Alderman Padragula.
I wanted to second much of what Alderman McMartin and Alderman Blessam have said, and particularly to compliment Minot State on showing some vision and not just meeting workforce needs, which are very, very important for the community, but trying to do something to raise the profile of the school and be responsive in a more general sense toward the needs of the community. What I've learned about this engineering program really impresses me, particularly the quality of the faculty. We have one of the faculty who I believe is a Yale graduate, just very, very distinguished academic pedigree. It makes sense, it's very practical, it fits in what we're trying to do, in not just in this community, but in the region in terms of workforce development. So I really want to compliment the Minot State folks for coming forward. I do agree, however, with Alderman Blessam that there's kind of a bait and switch here going on in terms of other levels of government. I think historically people from all political parties have complained about Washington giving us unfunded mandates and not paying for them, wanting us to do things and not supplying the resources. I think the same thing has been happening at the state level. The reality is that local communities have had to pay a greater share of the cost of their schools, and that's unfortunate. It's easy to kind of put the burden on somebody else's pocketbook, and it's coming to us. No matter how good this project is and how warranted it is, I just feel obligated to make that comment. This is Minot State University. It's not Minot City University. There are 3 other universities in the country that are municipal universities: Washburn University in Topeka, Kansas, which I used their facilities for a year I spent in Kansas. There's the distinguished City University of New York, one of the premier academic institutions in the country, if not the world, and there's one in Massachusetts. Minot State is not one of them. I think we have an obligation to step up to the plate and support our local college, but it really is a state university, and I think the primary burden of supporting it should be on the taxpayers of North Dakota. What also I think we've seen is a shift more and more on the backs of the students. Faculty have been underpaid in the North Dakota university system for decades, and students are being forced to share more of the burden, which has made attending college and the benefits it brings more difficult for the average person, whether on the academic side or the vocational training side, if you will. So as much as I support this allocation of money to Minot State, very well deserved, excellent program, I also feel obligated to comment on that. What, in my perspective or my viewpoint, is a shifting of responsibilities where it probably doesn't belong quite as much. I have no problem with cities contributing a bit, maybe a roadway, maybe helping with a parking lot or something, or some public safety issue. But to me, this is fundamental, basic higher education, and that to me is a state responsibility, not a municipal one. So I will enthusiastically support this with this one asterisk, with this one caveat.
Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Samuelson.
Thank you. So first of all, I'm going to say that I agree with Alderman Blessam on the North Dakota Higher Education Challenge Grant. I don't believe this is appropriate, and it borderline illegal. It is supposed to be private funds to support it. On the other hand, we talk about how we want to use the Magic Fund and people want to see it being used. I don't know that this is the appropriate way to use it. We have different ways that we've tried in the last couple years to use it, and other members of the council didn't agree with it. And that's fine. But we have a state-run institution that should be state-funded, tuition-funded, how it should be. Now we're also in this are including scholarships for students with local tax funds. I don't think that's appropriate. Local tax dollars. This is a state-run institution. Innovative engineering. I'm trying to figure out what that is. So I asked an engineering student that I know, and he said it's a buzzword. Because it is a stepping stone for engineering. You're going to have to move on from that. I get that we're part of this program is we want to keep our kids here. We want to get them working here. What about the ones that are looking for internships and they don't get them locally? They have to go to Minnesota, Montana, other places. Why aren't we focusing on that? I get education. I absolutely get it. Because I have a student right now I'm helping pay for his education. And I don't have a bunch of people coming around with grants and scholarships and funding for it. And that's, to me, the way it should be. And if we have a state-run institution, and I believe Minot State should concentrate on what they're good at. How many engineering programs do we need in the state of North Dakota? It was brought up about our nursing program, and it is fantastic. We should concentrate more on that. We should concentrate more on the things that we do best. And I just think engineering is out of our realm. It probably is going to end up being a good program. I don't know that. But at this point, I can't support this because I don't think it's allowed. I don't see it in our Magic Fund guidelines, and I don't see it in state guidelines for the challenge grant. So I'm going to be a no.
Further discussion? Dr. Shirley.
Thank you, Mayor Janser and members of the council. Steve Shirley, president of Minot State University and resident of Minot, for the record. Just a couple of things. First off, we did visit with the challenge grant guidelines, and we did visit with them and ask specifically if we could utilize this, and the answer in the affirmative that we could. Whether that was the original intention when the law was written, and I forget if it was passed 2009 or 2011, I can't answer that. But we did check with the guidelines, and we did have that conversation. This truly is about workforce. This is about MSU trying to be responsive, trying to be a good neighbor in this community and in this part of the state, and bring something forward. The easiest thing we could have done was we didn't have to bring this forward. I mean, we did not have to stand up a new engineering program. We made that decision about 18 months ago after talking to an awful lot of folks in industry, in this region, in this community. There's a couple of letters of support. We could have got a whole lot more letters of support for this program and brought those forward, and we'd be happy to if you'd like us to. But this is about us as your local university in the backyard of Minot, trying to do something to solve some challenges in this region where there are challenges. And there are challenges in the field of engineering. I heard it referenced a couple of times that there's 4 engineering schools. I'm not sure what exactly is being counted, but my focus is within the North Dakota university system, and for all intents and purposes, there's two public universities. There's NDSU and UND that we all know within the North Dakota university system. You're all North Dakotans, you all know your geography as well as I do. Those 2 campuses are east of I-29. Okay? There's not a lot of territory east of I-29. So we've got this whole swath out here where when we lose young people, we don't always get those students back. And so we're trying to be responsive. It's called Innovation Engineering. It's a Bachelor of Science in Innovation Engineering. It is a 4-year degree. It is being designed, and it is designed so that those first 2 years, if that student wants to go get a civil engineering degree or a mechanical or electrical or whatever it may be, we're mapping that curriculum, and we've met with those institutions so that that student can transfer and can go to UND or can go to NDSU, and they can get that mechanical engineering degree or that civil engineering degree or whatever it may be. But they can start and they can do their first 2 years at Minot State. And perhaps during those first couple of years, they do get an internship. They do get connected with a local business here in the community. And then they do their freshman and sophomore year at MSU. They go over to Grand Forks or Fargo their junior year. They've got that connection back here. Maybe they come back that summer after their junior year, finish up their senior year, and now maybe they've got that connection and they've planted those roots with a local company. That's part of the track. The other part of the track, and the track that we're frankly most focused on, is for the 4-year Bachelor of Science in Innovation Engineering degree. A lot of the companies have told us in our conversations is that we will train these students on our processes and on the way that we do business and on our systems and those kinds of things. But we need students that can think spatially. We need students that can do the math. We need those students who have that concept and some of that fundamental understanding. That's what this bachelor's degree is going to do, so that those students then can get connected. These companies have told us, look, we'll train them up. We're going to probably, start them over again once they come to work for us those first couple of years and rebuild them on our systems and those things. But we need them that can think this way. And so that's why the program is designed the way it is. So, Alderman Blessum, I didn't know you had an engineering degree. We might be looking for adjunct faculty at some point. And we'd love to invite you, but
That's 30 plus years ago. We don't want to go
I
there.
wasn't smart enough to get into engineering. So, but honestly, we'd love to have you if you ever want to come and chat with our future students or our faculty, anything like that. I'd be happy to do that. But just wanted to share a few comments on the program.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Shirley? Alderman Potter-Gula.
Just a comment again, more praise. It's obvious you've done your homework in developing this program, the way you've reached out to businesses, to corporations, to large employers and smaller employers. And what I also see here is that sense of loyalty, that sense of dedication to the community and trying to serve it in a whole host of ways. I've been involved in training physicians. I've been involved in training clinical psychologists, and it starts at the beginning. The earlier you can get them hooked in to your community, to your way of thinking, to your way of looking at the world, the better off they are. Sure, they may go somewhere else to complete the program, but that's not an argument, for example, against the pre-medical or pre-veterinary programs we have at Minot State. We've eventually ended up with some very good physicians and vets and people like that. You got to start somewhere. You may not have the resources for the entire graduate or postgraduate program, but you start them with the fundamentals. And if those fundamentals are sound, they'll end up well. And that's what I see here. That's what I see as a great deal of investment, a great deal of thought, a great deal of planning, which I think will have a positive outcome, not just for Minot, but for the whole region, and certainly help address this critical need for a workforce in our state. We can't grow, we can't develop, we can't have a better society if we don't have people who work and can apply unique sets of skills to the problems that our communities face. And I think this is an important step in that direction.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Shirley. Alderman Samuelson.
Thank you. So I would just like to say that this has nothing to do with Minot State and how they do business. I have 2 graduates in my household from Minot State University, and I have a son who spent 2 years at Minot State University. And the university that he attends now, every once in a while down in Arizona, you can see him wearing a MSU jersey. So it has nothing to do how Minot State is run. I actually admire Dr. Shirley on how he runs Minot State and have ever since he came here. I just do not believe that this is the appropriate way to use our local tax dollars.
Any further discussion? Okay, I think then we're ready to vote. We have a motion and a second. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Padragula?
Yes.
Samuelson?
No.
Blessum?
No.
Fuller?
No.
Janser?
Yes.
Walken?
Yes.
McMartin?
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right. That brings us to Section 11, which is our consent items. I believe we've asked if any of the aldermen have an item to be pulled and have not heard of any. So I'll just ask that one more time. Otherwise, a motion to pass the consent items would be in order. Also, if anyone in the audience is here about any of the items in Section 11 and would like them pulled, speak up now, please. All right, seeing no one, Alderman Fuller.
I'll make a motion to pass the consent items as presented.
Moved and seconded to pass the consent items as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Fuller?
Yes.
Janser?
Yes.
Locken.
Yes.
McMartin.
Yes.
Podjagula.
Yes.
Samuelson.
Yes.
Blessam. Motion passed.
All right, we've been at this for over 2 hours, and as there is a fair amount of our agenda remaining, I'm going to call a 7-minute break so people can have a little break, and then we'll be back.
Yes.
waiting for Stephanie and Stephen.
Try clicking it. Click and drag.
I'll fool with it. Thanks for trying.
We're going to come back to order, and we are on to our action items, section 12, section 12.1. Item 12.1, I'm sorry, is a budget amendment for an NDERF endorsement for water and sewer backup. The recommendation is to authorize purchase of this insurance rider. What are your wishes?
Mr.
So
Mayor.
moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the recommendation. Is there any discussion? Alderman Fuller.
Yeah, just one thing. I would encourage the city, after we get this rider on there, I know we've had a number of people who have had issues over the last few months. I would take and want to go back and maybe have them looked at and see if there's something we can do for them.
Alderman
I
Patergula.
want to compliment city staff, whoever originated this, for suggesting this coverage. That's been one of the most heart-wrenching experiences I've had brought to me in all my years on the council, where somebody's sewer line breaks up, and if it's not our backs up, and if it's not our fault, well, we can offer sympathy. Hopefully, we can offer some compensation. The other thing I would say is that I really would encourage homeowners to buy this insurance privately. If we approve this, this will only supplement what they have to a certain limit. And I think it's not that expensive. I'm not an insurance agent. I don't have to make any money off of this. But I would strongly recommend getting sewer backup insurance on your homeowner's policy, which most policies do not cover. So I think that would be a prudent step to take, and I would strongly recommend that as an individual who's had some backup issues and had to help a lot of people who've had backups by your own insurance.
I guess I would like to note, just so everybody understands, that this rider on our insurance was not available until quite recently. I think it was first announced at the spring League of Cities meeting by NDERF, and so we are acting on this timely to make sure that we do have some coverage. Alderman Blessum?
Yeah, thank you. We had discussion on this at a prior meeting, and I want to be a little bit careful that it's not viewed quite as the slam dunk that it seems. We're gonna invest. If I'm reading it right, I think $50,000 in the premium to provide this coverage. And yes, it's a terrible thing when this happens to somebody. But I also want to make sure, and I'm looking to the city attorney, are there other types of incidences that I mean, this certainly won't cover them, but are we setting a precedent that we will act when there are truly things that are outside of anybody's control that happen to people? Because that happens in many different ways, and this is just one of them. And so I see Dave coming. That's good, because I'm supportive. I was part of the discussion when we asked for this, but I just want to make sure we're not heading down a path where we're going to cover every last act of God that can occur.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this policy is a little bit limited to essentially water and sewer backup. Typically, under our current liability policy, if the city is deemed not to be liable for causing that, then there isn't any liability or any coverage under the existing policy. This policy takes out that determination of liability and just offers coverage should that act or that occurrence happen up to the limits of the policy. So it takes out that finding of liability. So I don't think that there's any issue with setting a precedence. This is how the policy is designed by NDERF. The next thing is it's a new product. So we'll see what happens with how much demand there is and how expensive it might be in the future.
Alderman Blessing.
If I can continue. So Dave, that actually triggered a question in my head. So does this policy require a city action going on within a radius of the property? Or this isn't just any old backup, is it? Or does it cover anything?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessum, It's my understanding that if this happens, and it has to be related to the city utilities, so that's where the water line or the sewer backup comes into play. So it's related to the city utilities. It doesn't require a finding of fault or liability on the part of the city. Just that if it involves the utility, there's a claim made, then they'll go through the claims process, but there isn't the necessity to be liable or the cause of that damage.
So if I can continue, so that makes sense to me, but I mean, I've gone through this in the past, had nothing to do with any city work. There wasn't a city vehicle within 15 blocks of my house, but there's, whether it's stuff in the line or a collapsed line, is that all now covered at the taxpayer's expense for anybody up to 25,000 in the city?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessam, I think there may be some caveats that if there was a collapse on the homeowner side of the connection, I don't know that this will cover that, but if there's a backup out in the main for whatever reason, if it's related to construction or if because somebody flushed a bath towel down the toilet and it got to the manhole and clogged the remainder of the sewer and it backed up, that's where this product comes into play.
Further questions, discussion? Seeing none, let's vote.
Fuller,
Yes.
Dancer,
Yes.
Locken,
Yes.
McMartin,
Yes.
Padragula, Samuelson,
Yes.
Blessam.
Yes.
Motion passed.
That takes us to item 12.2. This is a budget amendment for acceptance of a state homeland security grant. What are your wishes?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the grant. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote.
Fuller,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Locken,
Yes.
McMartin, Padragula,
Yes.
Samuelson, Blessam.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Item 12.3 is a budget amendment and acceptance of the fiscal year 2025 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant. What are your wishes?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote.
McMartin,
Yes.
Padragula.
Yes.
Samuelson,
Yes.
Blessam,
Yes.
Fuller, Janser,
Yes.
Locken.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Item 12.4 is a budget amendment related to the funding for LCRI compliance, predictive modeling for lead and copper rule compliance. What are your wishes?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Who was the second, please?
I did.
Fuller. I'm sorry.
At the same time.
For those of you listening, this is some advanced technology that allows us to use predictive analysis to determine where some of our lead lines are probably located, and so it's been proven to be quite effective in other locations. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's call a roll.
Samuelson,
Yes.
Blessam,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Locken,
Yes.
McMartin,
Yes.
Padragula.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Item 12.5 is a approval with the approval for Mead Hunt to design and bid the reconstruction of the rental car lot at the airport. What are your wishes?
Move approval.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I would note that if you have parked in a lot and driven through there, it's in need of repair. So this is a good move. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Padragula.
Yes.
Samuelson,
Yes.
Blessam, Fuller,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Locken,
Yes.
McMartin, Motion passed.
Item 12.6 is a urban grant program grant award for the Third Street Reconstruction Phase 2 project. What are your wishes?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
McMartin.
Yes.
Padragula.
Yes.
Samuelson.
Yes.
Fuller, or Blessam.
Yes.
Fuller.
Yes.
Janser.
Yes.
Locken.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Item 12.7 is a Highway Safety Improvement Program grant acceptance for railroad crossings on Burdick Expressway. What are your wishes?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Samuelson, second by Alderman Fuller. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Samuelson.
Yes.
Blessam.
Yes.
Fuller.
Yes.
Janser.
Yes.
Locken.
Yes.
McMartin.
Yes.
Padragula.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Blessing.
Before we move on from our action items, I'd like to actually bring an item back for reconsideration, if the council would approve it. It's item 11.5 from tonight. And it's an approval for a gaming license with the city for the Beulah Convention and Visitors Bureau and Uncle Mattio's. And so I'll leave it there. I'll move for reconsideration.
Second.
Okay, there's motion a second for reconsideration of that item. Discussion?
So, Mr. Mayor, just to explain, I apologize. Normally, I'm as far into this as I can get on each and every individual item, and to be honest with you, I missed it. It was brought to my attention that this looked like a normal renewal when I read across it, but there's actually a pending action with the CVB as well as these sites, and so. In my opinion, if we do reconsider the item, I think we should take a look at whether we approve that with the state action still pending. But for now, the reconsideration is the motion of whether we should take it up again.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman McMartin.
Alderman Padragula, I believe that in terms of the CVB, it's the Beulah CVB that's got some action against it, not here in town. I saw your face.
Okay, clarified. Further discussion? Okay, we have a motion for reconsideration of 11.5 from our other items, consent items. Any further discussion? Okay, let's call the roll on the motion to reconsider.
Blessam.
Yes.
Fuller.
Yes.
Janser.
Yes.
Locken.
Yes.
McMartin.
Yes.
Padragula.
Yes.
Samuelson.
Yes.
Passed.
Okay, so we're back to item 11.5. What are your wishes?
So, Mr. Mayor, a point of clarification from the city attorney before we act. My thought right now would be to make a motion to approve as recommended, but if the vote is no, the vote is no. But can you help me understand what risk we have? Is there, with a pending action, is there cause, because the alternative talks about cause. Mm-hmm. Is there cause for us to actually deny this application with a pending action?
I think there could be cause to delay it. I mean, there is a widely publicized action that's being considered right now. The issue would be to articulate that clearly for why you are choosing to pause reconsideration of that action. I don't know that they have and correct me if I'm wrong, City Clerk, I think you may have had conversations with the Attorney General's office on this. Is there a date certain by which they're going to have any kind of a decision on that?
Yeah, so I forwarded you the email that I had gotten back from them. They did not give me a date in which it says, but I had reached out to them to see if we could even move forward with approving They asked what sites. I told them the two that were being considered, which is Comfort Suites and Uncle Mattio's. Their email back was, right now, there is no suspension or revocation of Beulah CVB's gaming license or either site's ability to conduct gaming. There is currently a pending action against the CVB and Uncle Mattio's, but the final outcome is not yet determined. I asked them if we should wait until the final outcome is determined, and they said they're not able to advise us on our actions, but they are not taking any formal adverse action unless and until it is warranted based upon the final outcome. And that was the whole string with them, and that was from their director of gaming.
So another question might be, if there were an adverse outcome for them, if there was action taken, what does that mean for us? Does that mean that we would need to rescind their license that we would just pass, or?
So a state gaming license, it's my understanding, because the paperwork we get is a gaming site authorization in which I sign off on and the council approves. The state also has to sign that paperwork, and they have a new position within probably the last four years or so, where they have an investigator, and through this process, the investigator found some findings. And I don't know a ton of the detail. I just knew there was something going on, so that's why I had asked. But it is my understanding that they would rescind the gaming, and that would make that license for at least that site null and void. Whether or not they take action against all of Beulah CVB gaming license or just the site, I don't know what they will end up doing.
Okay. So, Alderman Potter-Gula.
Could someone clarify what this is all about? I saw a tail end of a TV story about them being accused of something or other, and that's all I know about it.
So, I mean, I guess I would defer to our police department. Typically, like, they'll make investigations on these.
So
No, I'm hearing
this
a no.
wasn't. I don't believe this went through the Minot Police Department. I think it went through the state investigators, and it's my understanding that Beulah CVB on their Schedule C is you put what you're donating your money towards, and a certain percentage of it has to be charitable gaming or charitable things, and they were maybe not fulfilling those. They were maybe they allegedly were putting like a donation to somebody where the money wasn't going to that donation, it was going back into the CVB. So they do have a new gaming person now, and that was one of their requirements from my understanding. I couldn't tell you if the two people on the CVB side are still employed there or not, but I do know they have a new gaming person in charge. And I was just kind of following what the state said, because we have to have cause to not do so. And so without them taking any formal action right now, it's my understanding that they would approve these after our approval until formal action is taken, if it is.
They don't currently have a site here in Minot, or do they?
They have they've all, well, I don't know always, but they've, at least probably since I started, had Uncle Mattio's and Comfort Suites. So these are renewals.
Renewals.
Technically.
Alderman McMartin.
I would move that we delay the renewal of this grant for 30 days and have it come back at the August whatever meeting.
Is there a second for that?
I'll second.
So just as a point of order, like, the motion that would have been on the floor with this was to approve it along with the consent items that were present. So that's the motion that would be on the floor presently. So my recommendation would be to first take a vote on the motion to approve it, because that's the motion that would have been resurrected through the motion to reconsider.
So
And
just
then
to
take new
clarify,
action.
So actually, that's what you're saying is that the motion to approve the consent items has been reversed. So our first order of business actually should be to approve the remaining items.
Yes, to pull it from consent,
Okay.
approve the remaining items. Yes.
And then we'll be back to John. So, John, you probably want to just pull that one back, and then we need to continue.
Yep, I can do that.
Okay. So,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move all consent items outside of 11.5.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion of that? Seeing none, call the roll.
Blessam,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Locken. Yes. McMartin,
Yes,
Quadrigula.
Yes.
Samuelson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
And so would his motion be in order at this point?
Yes.
okay. I would move that we hold 11.5 for a month to see what develops in the situation and reevaluate then.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Question for the city attorney. So if we pass this, I mean, do we have sufficient basis for taking that action? If, we know there's some pending thing out there, but we don't have a determination. Do we have sufficient cause to take the action and contemplated in this motion?
So there is an investigation occurring, and just looking at like our ordinance under games of chance, like it talks about the chief of police conducting an investigation into the application. So my understanding is, because it's before the council here today, that the recommendation was to approve. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct. It was signed off on by Deputy Chief Blessam.
There's,
Okay. So that's something, I guess, to consider, and that's the reason why I was asking about the investigation with the police department. If the police department has found sufficient cause to issue the application, then that's maybe not something that the council can consider unless they want to speak to what they found to be sufficient about the application and review of the ordinance.
Well, and our police department isn't conducting the investigation on this. So the investigation is being done with the state of North Dakota.
No, I understand that, the
okay.
investigation of Matteo's. I'm talking about the recommendation to approve the gaming permit itself. Like, the recommendation comes from, it's signed off on, and they review the application and send a recommendation to council, yes, approve, no, don't approve because of these reasons. My understanding is that recommendation from our police department has not, that the recommendation is to approve after they've reviewed the application and considered the same.
While we're waiting for Dale to come up, I will state that Uncle Matteo's, I believe, has still been operating with gaming. I don't know if they were shut down for a small period of time before or until the appeal occurred, but that's why it was brought to you guys, is because they've continued through this process because the state has not revoked their license to do so.
Okay, Deputy Chief Plessis, can you give us any help with this?
Mayor Janser, members of the council, in terms of a background or doing an investigation into an organization like this one here, there's no real good way to do that. You can't run them through NCIC or Quiz or any of our computer systems to make a determination whether there's an active investigation or what's going on with that investigation. So I don't know that there's a good way to say that they've been investigated thoroughly. Does that make sense?
And that's the state that's investigating at this point, not,
Correct, and we're not privy to their investigation.
understood. Okay, that was kind of the point. Alderman Blessam.
Thank you. So, the city attorney, I think that's where my mind, I got a little nervous about it, because without cause, can we be found to have harmed them if we don't issue the license? And then, and maybe if we back up a moment, under our ordinances and under state law, do we have the ability to make yes or no decisions on any license that we choose for whatever reason we choose? Or is there a set of criteria that are in place? And the reason I ask that is, as these discussions have gone on statewide and in the legislature, there's a question around, outside CVBs and small towns coming into Minot businesses and essentially pulling Minot money out into these outlying communities. And I'm not saying anybody's doing anything wrong in that regard, But we represent the city of Minot, the people of Minot. And I'm wondering what discretion we have in approving licensing in the first place. And whether we could hold out sites, let's say, or say, no, find a Minot charity. Is that contemplated in the law or in our ordinances or anywhere?
Alderman Blessum, Mayor Janser, Council, it's a complex question and analysis that goes into all of that. And it is a common discussion that's recurring at the legislative level. So it's something that I do anticipate that they'll probably have more conversations of it in the next legislative session. But here currently, under our current game of chance, there's this investigation that's done. They submit an application. I think ours is the same application that's submitted by the state, right? Is it the state form that they fill out?
Correct.
Yes. So it's not like we're asking for anything outside of what the state's also looking at when it comes to site approval. It's administratively issued, and then it's brought to the council after the fact here. So it talks about when we look at what they're looking at, there are some criteria that allows the council to suspend or revoke the local authorization or site approval. So that's in section 18188. It says that the city council can suspend or revoke a grant of authorization or site approval on the grounds that are set forth in 18-27 of the city ordinances, which, oh, hang on, I have to expand my screen. And my computer is crashing on me. I'm due for an update. But 18-27 talks about violations, penalty, revocation. Where not otherwise provided, any license can be revoked for all of these different reasons, one of which being violations of the state, willfully making false statements as to material facts, permitting disorderly and immoral practices, death of a licensee, ceasing business at the location licensed when the licensee ceases to be a legal and bona fide citizen. And then I have a box that's over the top of this right now, so I need to refresh my screen to try to get rid of it. But there is a criteria that's set forth that allows for revocation. So without more, I wasn't able to have a discussion on this really, like in advance of the meeting tonight on not approving this. But my understanding of the facts is that if any of those reasons are present here, the council could lean on that as a reason for why it would not issue this license here tonight.
Question, does the application form ask what they're going to use the money for?
So I mean, I guess I can answer that. There used to be a portion where we would have it filled out, like, you know, have you used the money within like the region, and there would be different counties that it would include. We were advised by the League of Cities that needed to be removed because that can't be part of your consideration. You can ask for the Schedule Cs, which are turned and submitted into the state. So your assumption is every time they turn it in that the state reviews them, sees them, and makes any adjustments with them as needed throughout the year. But we can't have any requirement on where the money is spent.
And what is Schedule C?
Schedule C is a quarterly statement that they turn in about how much came in via gaming and how much went out.
But not for what it went out? Or what it went out for?
Got the list, like who it went out to, but, and I believe that's maybe where the state has started, you know, finding some discrepancies, is the Schedule C's stated people that the money went out to, and it maybe didn't make it there.
Alderman Blessum.
Thank you. So Steph, what I get nervous about looking at the memo is that this is an authorization that started July 1. So there, you know, maybe tonight if we approved it, there wasn't harm yet because this is the first meeting where it could have been. But if we wait 2 meetings, is that harm if eventually their paperwork just wasn't in order, but the Attorney General's office says, yeah, they're fine? Is that a worse path for us than simply approving it and waiting for action should it come from the state level? And if the state level action comes, it's a moot point because they're going to lose their license anyway.
City Clerk.
The only thing I will state too is I think this has been an ongoing case for a while, and I can't guarantee that 30 days will even have the resolve. So from my understanding is they maybe had like, they had maybe deemed an action against them. They appealed it. They're working through the appeal, and they don't have a final outcome, is my understanding of the process in which they're in. And during that time, they've done everything asked that the state has asked by changing the gaming manager. So I can't even say if 30 days will be enough. This might come back to you, and it still might be an open case at this point.
I think it's very difficult, given all this, to say that we have sufficient reason to deny approving this.
I'm inclined to be persuaded of that, and I would withdraw my motion, but I would like to see this item come back pending state action. I mean, not the approval of it, but I'd like to see this item come back to us. And I'm certainly not an attorney, but I would opine with the nonprofit background. I would be more worried about the IRS looking at the income statements and where money was channeled than the state and that license.
City Attorney.
And Mayor Janser, Council, if I can offer a suggestion, if the council could consider making any approvals contingent upon the action of the Attorney General's office. So if at some point, if you were to authorize this to continue operating in the meantime, that would be contingent upon the outcome of the Attorney General's investigation. So if they do decide to move forward with withdrawing their ability to be a gaming provider, that we would follow suit immediately upon receipt of that information. That could be a middle ground of allowing them to continue their practices while also allowing the Attorney General's office to continue their investigation as well.
Alderman Blessam.
Yep. Steph, with that approach, is it moot because the state action would do that anyway? I still could see that it might still be better to have ours gone, because then they would have to go back through the whole process again. So that, I'm inclined to think that probably is still better to have a mechanism both ways.
Yes.
That takes that, okay.
That would be my logic behind it, that it would be an automatic action of the city, that we would take automatic action once we receive it. And that way it's not something that's ongoing. Should they then appeal that further, that they can then continue, because I'm not really quite sure where they go after the Attorney General's office, if there's a mechanism for them to go through court or quite where the forum is on this particular matter. So it may not necessarily be done after this next decision. And I don't know what their vigor is in pursuing all legal remedies that are available to them. But at least then, while that decision has been made, we would be in line with the state with what action they're taking.
So if I could, Mr. Mayor, I guess the easiest path, I think, right now is for us to dispense with this motion by simply voting no, which is the delay motion, and then we can bring an approval motion that includes that.
I thought John withdrew his delay motion.
Okay.
I
then
withdrew.
So that'll take unanimous consent, right?
Yes, so
My
as
second.
long as there's no objection to the withdrawal of the motion, so the just rules of order with the motion in the second, then that motion then becomes to the body. And so then if it is going to be withdrawn, if somebody wants to object to it being withdrawn, you need to make sure you're vocalizing that no, I want to dispose of the action that's on the floor. So
Okay, anybody object to the motion being withdrawn? Seeing no one, we're in line for a different motion, I guess.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Blessam.
I would move that we approve the staff recommendation with the additional language to immediately revoke based on a state determination of a license removal. Does that cover it, Michaela?
I mean, I just put this down, and you can tell me if it kind of covers everything. And it says, approve the gaming authorizations contingent on the final outcomes of the state of North Dakota case, which I'll follow up with an email. I'll include Steph on it and just have them, and I would think they would anyway reach out to us with any of their outcomes, because however they go, whether it's the site or the license that maybe is in jeopardy, once they revoke, it's my understanding that it revokes on all levels, because it's similar to alcohol where you need both the city and the state to operate it. So I would believe they'd be communicating with everybody that they have.
Yeah. So Steph, with that language though, I'm a little concerned that it would be read that contingent would mean we're waiting for their outcome before it'll go into effect, where I want the opposite. It's the license is back in effect and ready for use, but if that pending action results in something new, that it immediately triggers our side.
So would you like something like authorizations?
The
think that-
license is authorized.
So maybe rather than contingent, could we say something along the lines of subject to the outcome of the state investigation?
Yes.
Because that means that it's in effect, but it is subject to a change that comes from the state. Okay.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I just changed.
Okay.
Okay, so we're all clear on the motion, and we have a motion and a second.
Second.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Blessum,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Locken,
Yes.
McMartin,
Yes.
Padragula, Samuelson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. That takes us to personal appearances. Personal appearances require a speaker's card. If you want to appear, you have to provide your name, first and last name. You have to provide your address. The address will be held confidential. You have to indicate a topic that you're going to be speaking on. And the speaker's card should go to the city clerk, or we'll catch it from the table if we need to. Missing information from the speaker's card disqualifies the speaker from speaking at the meeting. Each individual is allotted 5 minutes to make comments. The individual will be notified when their 5 minutes have expired. The 5-minute time limit may be extended by a majority vote of the city council. The comments must address a topic indicated on the speaker's card, must be pertinent to the city of Minot and fall under the authority of the city council. The comments must be directed to the council as a whole. Comments may not be defamatory, abusive, harassing, or unlawful. May not include information that is exempt or confidential under North Dakota open records law. May not interfere with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Individuals will not have access to the city's audio-visual technology unless pre-approved, and the information provided with enough, leaving enough time for staff to review and approve it. Individuals may not yield their allotted time to another individual, and so we have speakers tonight. And we will start with Randy Monley. She's speaking about the Minot Public Library's summer reading program.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here today. So we're really excited at the library about our summer reading program this year. It started June 1st, and just in June, we had 1,416 people sign up to be a part of summer reading. For summer reading, they're counting the days where they read 20 minutes or more, and they've totaled 21,300 days of reading. We're really proud. We've had 63 programs, both within the library and outside, and we had 2,391 people come to our programs. We were able to check out and renew 22,000 items. We gave away 298 brand new library cards just in June, which equals about 11.6 cards a day that were open. And we've had 9,600 people within the library just in June. Also, that doesn't count our apps. So our Libby app, where you can get digital ebooks and e-audiobooks, we had 8,814 checkouts. We're really excited because we don't have a budget for summer reading. We don't have a budget for supplies, for crafts, and all that stuff that goes into programming. And we work really hard to find partnerships and to get grants so that we're able to provide these things. For every kid who finishes summer reading, 30 days of reading, they get a free book, because we want to encourage them to love reading. We don't want to give them a knick-knack. We want to give them a book. I was able to secure a Dollar General grant, thank you Dollar General, for $1,500 for summer reading. The Friends of the Library donated $5,000 towards summer reading. And we work with KXMC. They make our summer reading commercial, and they get donations from local businesses in the amount of $1,000 that Ward County Public Library and Minot Public Library share. And that goes toward more prizes. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker is Billy Gunderson, speaking about ADA requirement safety.
Mayor Janser, council members. Unaware of the acknowledgement of my photos and my inability to see my presentation photos at the June 15th City Council meeting due to a non-compliant podium is a direct violation of equal access under Title II of the American with Disabilities Act. Public entities must ensure that communications with people with disabilities are as effective as communications with others. This podium was a failure when it opened May 2023. And here as I sit to the table to the right, council members are out of sight and I'm out of view. The first photo is of a contractor going in towards Citizens Alley. He has no harness on. There is no spotter, no flagger. Same safety violations on the Souris River Joint Board construction for the flood wall. The second photo, he's going into Citizens Alley. Ryan Ackerman is the owner of Citizens Alley, dictates safety expectations for contractors, both on his property and as the administrator for the Souris River Joint Board. Next photo. This photo is an invoice from Souris River Joint Board, the breakdown of the open records request. It doesn't show the free hour itemization, and it also shows charges for legal, which is a violation. Next photo. This is a response from the Souris River Joint Board addressing the Attorney General's ruling. Again, there is no itemization of the free hour. Next photo. This is Houston Engineering parked on Central Avenue. His door is open. He's assessing the open where the concrete was cut and is exposed 1 inch depth with cones on the outside and a sign between the back of the truck and the opening in the street. Next photo. You'll see that the one cone is inside, and there is a sign in the street. Next photo shows that that's Tyzac's opening and their truck parked on the opposite side of the direction where you cannot see taillights but rather headlights, where it would be more appropriate to have the hazardous sign at the tail end of the truck on the front of the truck or on the other side of the opening in the concrete. Next photo. You will see a runner running down the street as opposed to the sidewalk that is blocked by a sign. Next photo. You will see Tyzac parked in the opening to Central Avenue where construction's at, blocking traffic. Next photo. You will see Northland Paste, a senior center, trying to get around the trailer and truck that's parked in the street doing construction. Next photo. You'll see them running, going forward and backing up, trying to get around to get to likely a senior citizen that needs transportation. Next photo. You'll see them going down Central Avenue. Next photo. You'll see Tyzac still parked in the entrance to that residential area. Lacking PPE, no hard hat, and I believe no safety glasses, using a concrete saw. Next photo. This is the map of Eastwood Park and Roosevelt Park pool area where the pickleball court and the pool is. You will see that there is one entrance from Burdick Expressway using 9th Street for all of Eastwood Park going into Roosevelt Park. Next photo. This is the entrance going into Roosevelt Park with a cone in the middle of the pedestrian sidewalk. Next photo.
Ms. Gunderson, your time has expired.
May I have another minute, please? I'll
So
get
moved.
through these photos.
1 minute.
Next
Is it-
photo. This is,
Hold on, Billy.
There's
So I
a
moved
motion to
them all.
grant an additional minute.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. 1 minute.
this area shows where the cone was moved. Next photo. Because it's continuously hit, it's now gone. Next photo. You will see contractors parked on the street where there are no parking signs, where it's wide enough for only 2 vehicles. Next photo. You can see one photo going down that street. Next photo. You'll see a tree that was hit with a tail light on the ground. Next photo. You will see a post that was hit, bent over. Next photo. Next photo. This is an opening that's about a foot deep. Next photo. That's Xcel Energy. Next photo. That's a contractor parked in a loading vehicle, in a loader that was running before 7 a.m. with no employees. The police came because I called concerned about his safety, and they said he was just sleeping.
Ma'am, your minute has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Tom Warsaki, talking about bus service.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I just wanted to talk very, very quickly about, as you do the budget with the city bus services. As we all know, the city bus services are an essential transportation link for many of our people in this city. I have the pleasure of working for a not-for-profit, and one of the things we do is we hand out a lot of bus passes to people that just simply can't afford them, which is a great thing. We're happy to do it. We'll continue to do it. But as you're going through with the budget, unless I am incorrect, you get about $70,000 a year of revenue from purchase of bus services. And I believe that doesn't include the advertising or anything else that you do during the bus. I would propose that, you look at all the money this city spends, I would propose that you eliminate the bus fees and make the buses free in this city. You talked earlier about how the ridership would really like to go up. I think that would be one way that ridership would go up, is if that we eliminated fees to ride the buses in this city. Hindsight is always 20/20, and I think of 3 projects, 2 of which you talked about in the city council meeting today, of the millions that were quite honestly wasted, and we're not even going to talk about the parking structures. This is $70,000 a year. It would be, in my opinion, money very well spent. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker is Julie Wondrasek. And she is speaking about sewer problems possible caused by construction on my property.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Julie Wondrasek, and I've owned my home at 909 24th Avenue Northwest in Minot since August 2021. I'm also a single mom with 3 kids. I'm reaching out in regards to the recent sidewalk construction that was completed in our area, particularly at my home on June 13th. 11 days later, on the 24th of June of this year, after completing a load of laundry, the drain in my laundry room overflowed out of my laundry room, flooding 3/4 of my completed basement, where 2 of my children's bedrooms are, an office and a half bath. This is approximately 700 square feet of the 900 square feet total in the downstairs. The next day, on the 25th of June, after my father had flushed the toilet downstairs, the drain in the laundry room overflowed again, but this time even more excessively. On June 25th, I was lucky enough to find a plumber. M4 Plumbing came to the house, snaked, and recorded the sewer line, confirming that there was a sewer line collapse. This cost me $390 to be paid up front. I resided in my house the past 5 years, and I have never had an issue with my sewer. The 30th of June, 2026, Green Brothers Construction and Landscaping moved me to the top of their list, came to my house, replaced the sewer line, costing a bid total estimate of $12,375, with a required half payment of $6,187.50 when the contract bid was signed prior to them coming to my house. They have been gracious in giving me a 30 days extension to pay the remaining $6,187.50. I do have some pictures I provided. I just haven't done this before, and I did make printouts for you all. The 3 pictures that I have is when they did the construction, there's a picture of the collapsed piping, which is showed to be directly underneath the sidewalk that was put in my house that we see here, and I could provide for you. I do have a close-up of the piping as well, too, for I was originally told that due to the Orangeburg piping, that was the reason of the cause of the collapse, and I understand that they have a time limit. However, I do have a picture of the Orangeburg piping that they brought up on top of my house that was not collapsed. I recently spoke with the city project manager, Secretary Julia, on these days on my concerns of the cause of the collapse. I was later informed that day it was concluded the collapse was not caused by the construction. However, I would like this issue to be reevaluated due to the findings of the condition of the piping that was found during the repair underneath my sidewalk. I have reached out to the city project manager, sent him the pictures and an email, but I'm still awaiting a response, and just wanted to bring this concern to you all, because as anybody, whether you're a dual income family or one, in my case, I don't have almost $13,000. I have started a GoFundMe. I am working with my insurance. As it was mentioned earlier, my policy does not cover it because it's the piping outside my house. Thank you for your time. If you would like, I could provide the printouts for the pictures. You want me to leave them up here?
Yeah, you could just hand them, yeah,
Okay.
just pass them down. Okay, yep. Yep, thank you. Yep, thank you. Okay, I have no more personal appearance cards, so we will close personal appearances and move on. Miscellaneous discussion items, there is nothing specific under that.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just.
Alderman Blessam?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to mention something that Tom brought up when he came up to speak. In the transit development plan, during that discussion, we actually did talk about going to zero. And actually, I'm a big advocate for that. And one of the biggest reasons why is that it removes your entire infrastructure for tickets and passes and all that stuff. You don't need a thing. You step on whenever you see a bus. Now, there are reasons why that's not a popular way of going nationwide as well as here. But I just wanted you to know that that was a part of the discussion, and I think will continue to be a part of the discussion because I see the value in that. I think if we're driving ridership, one other thing to mention with that, we want to be very careful because a part of the state matching always comes back to what are the local contributions. The legislature wants to see skin in the game from the ridership. And so there's a bunch of pieces, but it was definitely a topic of the discussion. I actually had meant to say it earlier, but actually didn't bring it up, so.
Okay. Anything else? All right, seeing nothing else, we are on to item 15.
So moved.
Second.
And seconded that we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We're adjourned.